This week, a couple thousand people came to Lorain High to hear Tim Walz, former vice president candidate and Minnesota governor. They came to hear him speak at Lorain High School. I have joining me Liz Alvarez, a senior at Lorain High School, and Sie'Aira Casey, a junior at Lorain High School, and also our history teacher, Steve Cawthon, to talk about this experience of interviewing Tim Walz at Lorain High.
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Lorain City Schools reached out to me, I think it was Monday morning, and said that Governor Walz is going to make a trip to Lorain to do a rally, and would I have an idea of maybe somebody or students that would be interested that could interview him, or that would be able to sit down with our TV crew and do a short interview. So I thought that's a great opportunity for our kids to have an opportunity to sit down with Governor Walz. So I came up with Liz as one. She's a member of our National Honor Society and been a CCP early college student with me for a couple years. And Sarah's also a student of mine, but I know Mr. Trout kind of pulled you from the Titan News crew. So once I got their excitement level and said, okay, yeah, we want to do this, because I didn't want to have a student that didn't want to do it, because we don't want to have, a person who has been in the national forefront to have someone that just didn't really have any interest in interviewing. So I know when I talked to Liz, she was like, yeah, I'd love to.
I was so excited.
Yeah, he was. And I even wanted to make sure that you knew who he was. Because sometimes, we have conversations about maybe people in politics or just in the world in general, and sometimes the students may not realize who that person is.
Right.
Liz immediately knew who he was, and then Sierra I have in class. So we kind of collaborated and created some questions that, we wanted to create questions that had their input.
Right.
So one of the things, and then I'll let them speak, that I really was happy about, Governor Walz's handler came up to me, and earlier in the day, actually, they had asked to see the questions. They wanted to see what the questions looked like. So I passed along that information to him. And then when I arrived at school, before everything came down, he introduced himself again to me, and we talked a little bit. He said, those questions were really intense, and they were good questions. He said, because I don't know, sometimes you get interviews, you get those fluffy, softball-y questions.
Yeah.
I don't think any of those questions were like that. They were very poignant, and they had the input as we put them together. And I was very proud that even at the conclusion of the interview, even Governor Walz said, you guys are better than CNN.
Yes.
So that was pretty awesome.
He said that.
So I'll let them talk about the experience that they had, and maybe some of the little nuanced things of getting a chance to sit down with a person that was in the forefront of the political world and is still heavily involved in the Democratic Party as we stand here today.
It was a fun experience for me. At first, I didn't know who I was interviewing, because my teacher, Trout, he's like, you want to interview someone? And I'm always down to, do stuff for the class. So I was like, yeah. He's like, okay, talk to Cawthon about it. And then Cawthon told me who it was, and I was, kind of excited. And then I expected it to be, a big thing, but not as big as it was.
Right.
There was, a whole bunch of people there, a whole bunch of security. They cleared out the newsroom when we was interviewing him. And it's just, a really fun experience for me.
Yeah, for me also, it was very fun. It was scary because when Cawthon came to me and asked me about it, at first, I'm not going to lie, I was confused. I looked at you are you joking? I was like, he's not serious. I just stood there, and then he was telling me about it, and I was like, wow, this is a huge opportunity. And then I got to see him, and it was more than I had expected. He was so sweet, very down to earth. It wasn't like he was, feeling like he was better than some people because of his background. He was very humble, almost like a dad. He reminded me of Cawthon. I was just talking to Cawthon in a way. And it was so much fun. And he really took time to answer our questions thoughtfully. He didn't just dismiss our questions by one-word answers. No, he really dived deep and gave us the answers we wanted.
And I think the cool thing was, and I could tell before he came into the room, they were a little nervous, because it was
very,
even for myself,
very.
and I've been lucky over my life to have been. I've met President Obama. I've been at Hillary's event. I've worked with Senator Manning on some projects and things, and Joe Miller. So I've been around the political world,
right.
And I didn't really know what to expect. I mean, he's not the vice president; he's a governor, but he had a pretty good entourage when he came here. And the security that was here, it was pretty unique and kind of intense on their end. Yeah. And I could tell they were a little, I don't say nervous, but you were.
I was antsy.
Yes.
I'm just
so
I don't know how
I said to the girls, I said, how about I sit in the chair where Miss Cheers is, and I said, pretend I'm him and let's do the interview. So like he was doing pictures, we did like a run through of it. And you asked me the questions and I answered them as if I was him. And I think that helped.
It really did. Mind you, we told him he should run for something. Asking the questions because he was answering them perfectly. I was like, wait, Cawthon, you're like a professional. Like, you need to run.
Cawthon 2028. No.
Yes, vote Cawthon 2028, guys.
Give our vote.
Tim Walz, he remind me of like Mr. Colasco and Cawthon mixed together.
Yes. If you ever have Mr. Colasco,
And
that is
Cawthon,
true.
them mixed together, that's who he remind me of. Like, you could tell he used to be a teacher.
Yes.
Like, he has that teacher vibe. Like he really cares about his students.
Yeah, and he really cares about his audience too. And to me, it seemed like he wanted to keep talking to us. Like he didn't want them to stop.
Yeah,
from
but the
talking
time
to
was
us.
such limited that he had to stop, but he wanted to more.
Well, if you remember, even his handlers, like you, and I came to you guys and said, hey, you might only ask 2 or 3 questions.
Right.
And then and you guys picked your top 2 or 3 of the 5 that each of you had. And then as it kept going on, it's like they keep asking more, and no one was doing the TV wrap-up thing, and you guys kept going. And then it was like, you asked all 10 questions. That was awesome.
Like it flowed perfully. I really loved it.
Very smooth. You guys did a phenomenal. I was so proud, and my wife and daughter were kind of sitting with like, those girls are so awesome, and how they're just going and asking the questions. You had such a great demeanor, you know.
It was all thanks to you.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a team effort, and that's kind of like, to me, the beauty of the experience was the fact that, you know, we collaborated, we worked together to create this experience that none of us will ever forget. I mean,
Definitely.
you know, you can be 50, 60 years old, like, you know, my age, someday down the road, and be like, I remember when I sat down with Governor Walz and had a chance. He came to our school and was here and walking the halls and just kind of, you know, and like you both said, which I thought was cool too, when you meet someone that you've seen on TV and you've seen, you know, Democratic convention up there with Kamala Harris and running for, you know, vice president, and then he walks in here and you wonder, is he going to be the same person that I see on TV? And he very much felt to me the same guy that I've seen on TV. Very, like you said, you could tell he was a teacher.
Yes.
He had an easygoing demeanor, and it was just very comfortable,
Very.
Yeah.
you know. Because I know even my wife had said, it's a pleasure to meet you. And he looked at her and said, no, it's a pleasure for me to meet you. Kind of like turning it around to make it very humanistic, which I thought was nice.
He's a people person, and that was what made it so much more enjoyable and comfortable for me. Because he was just so natural, like a dad, like literally like a dad, or like a teacher.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for making this happen. And this was memorable for the city of Lorain as well. Not just for Lorain High, but for the entire city. So once again, Titans, another moment of excellence. I would like to leave you with a quote by Alex L. We must stick together and stand together. We must love one another to grow with each other. It's simple. Erase competition, start connecting.